Hello and welcome to Thought Provoking Tech. I'm Zach, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Oculus Quest, which is an amazing headset. I picked it up pretty much the day after launch and have been playing on it since then, and I love it. I haven't really found anything I dislike about it. There are things that could certainly improve, but it is an amazing headset, and there are some very strong reasons why I think it is the best headset that is available on the market at this time. And I'll kind of cover those later, but I do want to clarify that it might not have the highest refresh rate, it might not have the highest fidelity graphics, it might not have the best tracking of headsets out there, but overall it has all the things that with my Rift, which I pretty much picked up when Amazon had that big sale that brought it down to $400 for the first time, and then it pretty much stayed at $400 after that. But I've had that for a while. I've had the Rift for quite a while and had some very good experiences on it. But the Quest pretty much fixes every issue that I had with my Rift and pretty much solves all the things of why I didn't spend as much time as I could have possibly wanted to in the Rift and have been spending a lot more time in the Quest. As far as ratio goes, in the first week of having the Rift versus the Quest, I probably spent about as much time. But the Quest, I definitely foresee myself continuing to play it just as much as I have recently because of some of the big issues that it solves with the Rift. So guys, let's go ahead and dive into this video. I have a couple of strong reasons on why I feel so strongly the way that I do. So we'll go ahead and cover those one by one. So as I alluded to in the video intro, the Oculus Quest doesn't have the highest refresh rate. It doesn't have the highest resolution even. It doesn't have the best fidelity graphics, and it doesn't have the best tracking. Those are all things that are scientifically provable that the Oculus Quest doesn't have the best of. So why do I feel that it is the best VR headset out there on the market? Well, there are a couple main reasons why I think it is the best, and even though you might be able to get a better resolution or a higher frame rate, there are going to be sacrifices that you have to take with all those different headsets out there that might be able to excel in a certain region above the Quest, that those sacrifices aren't what I view as the future of VR. And I think the Oculus Quest is the first VR headset that really is what I always envisioned VR as. If you watch Ready Player One, the Oculus Quest is really the headset that gets us the closest to what you could do in Ready Player One. And a big part of that is the fact that it's completely tetherless. Sure, you can have wireless solutions with other VR headsets, but you're going to be strapping a battery pack to you. You're still going to have cables to running from whatever wireless solution to provide power and things like that. You're still going to have, maybe when you strapped a VR backpack, a computer to your back, you don't have the extra weight there and things like that. You could provide some of the things that the Oculus Quest does it, but it does those things in the best possible way that is really available with the tech that we have right now. So let's go ahead and jump to the first major reason why I think it is the best VR headset, and that is the reason, or the fact that it is crazy easy to set up. Like, it's hard to explain how easy it is to set up. Once you've gone through the initial setup, you've attached your account, and you run through the first update, you can literally set up a VR play space in 60 seconds. So what you do, you put your headset on. If haven't already created a play space, or for some reason they didn't recognize that, which is something that happens from time to time, and I'm not going to ignore that flaw, you have to create a new Guardian. And the Guardian is what kind of comes up on the screen if you get too close. It's kind of a grid pattern that is overlaid into your world that says, hey, you're getting too close to the wall or a window or a TV so you don't punch something. And it's definitely super handy, but the fact that it takes no time to set up is crazy simple. You're not setting up cameras or a light sensor to define your zone. You can go to any room, clear some space, maybe you have to move a couch or something, and make a big nice setup and literally be playing within a minute, because all you have to do is point your controller. Sometimes you might have to bring your controller down to the ground so that it can detect the ground level. Most of the time it will do that correctly, but every once in a while you will have to bring your controller down to the ground level. That way it can correctly detect the ground plane, and then all you do is just point your controller, pull the trigger, and define the space with a laser pointer walking around your room. And it's that simple. Like, wow. Every time I would play my Rift, if I cleaned my desk, and I could have fixed this by hard mounting my my cameras from my Oculus Rift, but if I would have hard mounted them to make them transportable, which is something I'll get to here in a bit, would have been even harder. So every time I moved my playset or my play zone to a different room or to a different location, whether that be a friend's house or something along those lines, I would have to go through a lot of effort to reset up my Guardian for my Oculus Rift. And with the Quest, it's crazy simple. I can bring this when I go to my parents' house or even to work possibly, and possibly play on a break and be able to set up in 15 minutes and blow off some steam in the middle of the workday, because they have made it that simple. That is amazing, and it deserves a huge point to itself. Now, the next part is the fact that it is easy to transport. And this kind of comes back to the fact that it is so easy to set up because you're not bringing around a whole bunch of stuff. You don't have to transport a computer. The computer is in the headset. You don't have to transport any, light detectors or buy a second set of, light emitting cameras, or just the Oculus Rift actually uses like normal cameras to detect the light coming from the touch controllers. And the headset too. So you don't have to bring all that extra gear. You literally have 2 controllers and a headset. This is all you need, and you can enjoy a VR experience and a 6DoF VR experience. And that is a major part too, because you did have wireless setups that used a phone or something along those lines, but they were not 6DoF experiences. And what 6DoF means is 6 degrees of freedom. So you have rotational as well as translational. So you can move it in space, up, down, left, right, forward, back, all that, but you can also rotate it anyway along those 3 axes. It gives you 6 degrees of freedom, not only in your controllers, but also in the headset. So like with the Oculus Go, you only had the rotational axis, so you could look around, but you couldn't duck, you couldn't lean, you didn't have those same abilities. So the fact that you have 6DoF is amazing, but where this really excels, and this is on the Oculus Rift 2, is the 6DoF controllers, because you have hand presence. And once again, it's not the best hand presence. There are better hand presence, like the new Valve controllers that allow you to actually detect grip and detect each individual finger. That's amazing, and I feel that that'll definitely come to the next version of the Quest down the road. But I don't want to make the sacrifices that I'd have to make to utilize that VR headset to be able to take advantage of the Oculus Quest. So the fact that you still have hand presence and a 6DoF controller as well as a 6DoF headset, while it's all very easy to transport, go to a friend's house, play some games, and then take it back home and easily be able to set back up, that is an amazing ability of the Oculus Quest. So those are 2 of the kind of simple points. The fact that it is easy to set up, and that the fact that it is easy to transport kind of tie it together with each other, so you can maybe even classify that as a single point. Now I'm going to move on to my second point, which is the fact that it is very affordable. The next major point that I wanted to discuss in today's video is the fact that the Oculus Quest really brings affordability to VR. Now, $400 is still far from an impulse buy. It is still expensive, but for that $400, you're getting the entire game console, if you want to call it that, the headset and the controllers. So you have everything that you need. You have your tracking, your controllers, your headset, and the device that actually is running the game that you're playing. And the next cheapest kind of competitor, if you want to call them that, is the PlayStation VR for $600. It's pretty much everything you can need, including the PlayStation 4, the headset, the camera, as well as the controllers. And with that in mind, you're looking at a system that is 50% more expensive. And you could make the argument that you might already have a PlayStation 4, so the PSVR itself, that bundle would still be cheaper. But looking at them one-to-one, for someone that doesn't have a modern gaming system, doesn't have a PlayStation 4, and just wants to get into VR, the Oculus Quest is by far the cheapest option out there. And the fact that they combine everything into this one tiny, very transportable package that I've already touched on, that aspect of it, is really going to be a huge part that's going to really help VR as a whole, because it's going to help bring VR to the mainstream market. And as VR enters the mainstream market, you're going to continue to increase funding for VR hardware, which will bring better resolution displays, computers that are going to be able to render these high frame rate, high resolution screens, and so on and so forth. And you're going to bring developers to the VR platforms, which is definitely going to be what everybody in the VR market is going to be looking for, because with more developers, it becomes more games and more experiences that we can enjoy with our VR headsets, regardless of whether you have the Quest, the PlayStation VR, the Rift, the Vive, whatever you actually have. This will just help VR as a whole, and that's a major point of why the Quest is so awesome, is because I do think that it will help move VR more into the mainstream, simply due to how affordable it is for the entire package. There are computer setups that you could easily spend thousands of dollars on if you get a very high-end headset, and if you actually want to take advantage of the high-end aspects of the headset to be able to run at the very high resolutions and the very high refresh rates that those headsets can support, you're going to need a very beefy computer, and you could very well spend $800 on the GPU alone to be able to support those experiences. So on the very high end side, you can have these awesome features, but it gets very, very expensive very quickly to be able to support those features to their fullest potential. So that being said, the Oculus Quest is, in my mind, good for VR as a whole. And beyond that, I have one final major point that I want to talk about, and it kind of ties into hand tracking for these controllers that I've been holding throughout this video, and the freedom that the Oculus Quest presents. The final topic for this video kind of interweaves hand tracking with the complete freedom that the Oculus Quest presents. So pretty much all the best VR headsets have hand tracking, and there are headsets that have better hand tracking with per finger ability to detect whether your fingers are touching the controller or not, and the ability to detect how strong you're gripping the controller. Those are very cool features, but the Oculus Quest gets you what you base need to be able to interact with the world with your hands, and that is massive. Being able to interact with the world with your hands has a massive benefit to immersion. Even if the graphics aren't super realistic or even realistic at all, even if they're cartoony, having the ability to interact with the game world with your hands is not only intuitive, but very immersive, and it kind of tricks your mind into believing that this world is real, even though it doesn't look like the real world that you're used to seeing. And that is very cool in and of itself. And then going back to what I mentioned very briefly is the fact that it's intuitive. So if you take someone that has never played video games before and give them a controller or a mouse and keyboard, now mouse and keyboard they might know how to use just by using a computer, but they might not know necessarily how to play games that, WASD is your normal keys to move around. With the touch controllers, you run through a very quick tutorial, and the fact that they're so intuitive, you can grasp the concept of the controllers very quickly and very strongly. And of course, there will be things you might have to learn on a game-by-game basis, especially with like the buttons and the joystick. But the fact that a lot of games mainly just use the fact that you're moving and the two triggers on your index fingers and the two triggers on your middle finger, a lot of games use those two buttons on each controller, so a combination of 4 buttons total, that do so much because you have the ability to move and rotate throughout the game world just with the controllers themselves without actually even pulling any triggers. It's a massive benefit, and it's part of what makes VR so immersive. Then you take the fact that the Oculus Quest gives you complete freedom. You're not tethered to any wires or have to have additional gear strapped to your body to enjoy this experience. It definitely gives you the feeling that you can really move around in the world, duck the bullets as they're coming by your head, duck this sword that's being swung at your head and whatever, and actually move around in your play space. Having that complete freedom really makes you feel comfortable doing that, and that's something with the Quest, with the Rift, that I really never really felt comfortable, because I knew that I was tethered, and I always, every once in a while, I would feel that tug and like, oh, I better not do that because I'm going to pull my computer off of my desk if I keep on pulling on this too hard. And a lot of people try to combat that issue with wireless setups, but the Quest really does that in the best possible way, really, with the tech that we have right now, in my mind. So combining the fact that you have hand tracking and the fact that the tracking is done from the headset out and doesn't need all these other gear, it gives you a ton of freedom and could allow you to move to different play spaces in your house depending on kind of the time of the day. If there's other people in your house that need your room that you generally play VR in, you might have to retreat from the living room where you have a bigger play space to your bedroom, for instance, where you don't have as big of a play space, but you can still make it usable and still enjoy VR. So kind of hand tracking and the freedom that Quest present is probably its ultimate benefit. And if you look to how I view or I envision the future of VR, I definitely see like the Oculus Quest is kind of the first stepping stone into that future. It's one of them that gets a lot of the basics perfectly right. And while there is definitely room for growth, it is definitely the first stone that's going to give you a vision of what you, if you watched Ready Player One, getting it to that vision in the future, the Oculus Quest is definitely the first major stepping stone to that overall vision. And that's part of the reasons, kind of combining all those together, why I think the Oculus Quest is the best VR headset available right now. It might not have everything out there, all the best features, but it does combine the features that it has into a very, very strong VR headset. So it is for those reasons, the fact that you have hand tracking, you have an immersive environment, you have complete freedom, it is relatively affordable, it is so easy to transport, like crazy easy to transport and set up. All those factors is why I think the Oculus Quest is overall the best headset. And as I've mentioned several times, it doesn't have all the best features, but the features that it does very well. And once again, for a very affordable price. So for those reasons, the Oculus Quest is an amazing headset, and in my mind, it is the best VR headset currently available in the market. If you've watched Ready Player One and saw the vision of what VR could potentially be, I think that the Oculus Quest is our first stepping stone to getting there. The fact that you have that freedom and have that hand presence is massive, and there will be technologies that are kind of rolling out from these higher end headsets that will trickle down to Quest and its further iterations and headsets like it in the future that will continue to get us closer to that vision that Ready Player One kind of established. But here and today, the Oculus Quest is really, in my mind, the best headset you're going to be able to get. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed my analysis on why I think that the Oculus Quest is such a great headset, and just generally my thoughts and opinions on the Quest. So once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a big like, and if you're not already subscribed to Thought Provoking Tech, make sure to smash that subscribe button to stay tuned for more great videos in the future. Once again, guys, thanks for watching, and until next time, Zach out.